Hi, nice to meet up with you again. We're going to be talking this week about the night sky. It's something that we've all got access to, that we've all grown up looking at, and there's something magical about it. Part of the magic of it, I think, is that we don't know very much about it. You know, we can look out and see the stars and wonder about planets and think about our own little planet sort of suspended in the middle of it all. It's kind of wonderful. And I think kind of one of the things I wanted to remind you about in terms of writing is that it's okay to write about what you don't know about. So, you know, I'm going to ask you to do an exercise this week writing about the night sky. And you might think, well, I don't know anything about stars or where the constellations are or anything like that, and that really doesn't matter. You just have to observe. And you know, I'm going to ask you to look out at the night sky for 5 nights in a row with a notebook, and just make little notes of what you see, what you think about, what sparks your imagination, what you wonder about, what confuses you. It might be that we have 5 days in a row of rain, and when you look at the night sky, it all just looks a bit of a blur. There's not many stars or anything. That's fine, write about that. But I just want you to look at the night sky for 5 nights, and either at the time or afterwards, write down some notes. I want you to just feel free to invent a story about the night sky, or I'm going to ask you to maybe write a story about walking at night. Some people like to walk at night. My daughter used to, I think she still does, like walking around at night, and it used to worry me, actually. I wished she wouldn't, but she loved walking around listening to music on her headphones, and just being out at night when it feels different. Things smell different, it's quieter, it's kind of got a magical feel to it. So I'm going to ask you to write about your street at night. Does it change? How does it change? It doesn't mean you have to be out there. I'm not asking you to go out walking on the streets unless you feel comfortable doing that. You might just want to look out your window and think about it, or stand at the edge of your garden and look out at it. And just, you know, are there people walking their dog at night? Are there young people meeting up at night? Is there nobody on the street? It just feels like a different world sometimes at night time. So it's quite nice to sort of take notice of that in your writing. I'm going to read you a little excerpt from I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, which is this book here. It's a book that I really like, that I've read over many decades, and it's just about this family. The dad's a writer, and he's down on his luck, and they end up living in a huge cold castle in Scotland, I think it is. I can't remember exactly where now, and have lots of adventures. So it's a really lovely book to read, but I want to read this little excerpt from it where the girl in it goes to sit outside the castle. There's a little kind of hill beside the castle, and she goes out on Midsummer Night's Eve to have a little, she does a little ritual, usually with her sister, but she's on her own this time. And she's doing a little ritual to just celebrate Midsummer's Eve. She has a fire, and she wears flowers in her hair and sings a song and does various things. But I just want to read it to you because it's a beautiful description of being out at night and how different things look. There wasn't a breath of wind as I climbed the mound. The sun was down. Usually I began the rites by watching it sink, but trying the scent had taken longer than I realized. She was trying to decide what scent to wear for her magic rites. The sky beyond the tower was a watery yellow with one streak of green across it. Vivid green, most magically beautiful. But it faded quickly. It was gone by the time I reached the stones we placed to encircle the fire. I watched until the yellow faded too, then turned towards the moon, still low over the wheat field. The blue all around her had deepened so much that she no longer looked pale, but like masses of luminous snow. The peace was so great that it seemed like a soft, thick substance wrapped closely around me, making it hard to move. But when the church struck 9, I stirred at last. I emptied the sack of twigs into the circle of stones and put on the small logs that Stephen had left ready. He had brought some long, slender branches too, so I set them up over the logs like poles of a wigwam. Then I went to the tower for my need fire. Real need fire, from which midsummer fires should be lit, can only be made by rubbing 2 pieces of wood together. But when first we planned the rites, Rose and I spent an hour at this without raising so much as a spark. So we decided it would be pagan enough if we took matches to the tower and lit a taper. Then Rose carried it out and I followed, waving foxgloves. We were always fascinated that such a tiny flame could make the twilight seem deeper and so much more blue. We thought of that as the beginning of the magic, and it was tremendously important that the taper shouldn't blow out as we came down the tower steps and crossed the mound. On breezy nights, we used a lamp glass to protect it. Last night was so still that I scarcely needed to shelter it with my hand. Once the fire is blazing, the countryside fades into the dusk. So I took one last look around the quiet fields, sorry to let them go. Then I lit the twigs. They caught quickly. I love those early minutes of a fire, the crackles and snappings, the delicate flickers, the first sharp whiff of smoke. The logs were slow to catch, so I lay with my head near the ground and blew. Suddenly the flames raced up the wigwam of branches, and I saw the snowy moon trapped in a fiery cage. Then smoke swept over her as the logs caught at last. I scrambled up and sat back, watching them blaze high. All my thoughts seemed drawn into the fire, to be burning with it in the brightly lit circle of stones. The whole world seemed to be filled with hissing and crackling and roaring. So that's just a little excerpt from I Captured the Castle. I just think it's beautiful the way she describes the countryside, how it sort of starts disappearing at dusk and things feel quite like they're transforming, and then they light the fire and the countryside disappears. So that's, one sort of little story of the magic of night. I hope it's inspired you a little bit to write something yourself. Remember, what's outside your window, what you're looking at through your window, is as magical as being, on a hill beside a castle. It's all still the same sky. So just start looking out in the evening, which I think will be quite a nice thing for you to do. And when we meet up for our interactive session, bring your writing that you've done along. And if you want to write more than one thing about looking at the night sky, you might want to write about that, but also an experience you remember having at night as a kid or as an adult, where you've been outside at night and it's felt quite magical and special, or frightening or something. Just let your imagination go and enjoy the writing, and I'll talk to you soon.